Hi everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and it's a sketchy Sunday. We haven't had one in such a long time. I have an idea that's been kind of rumbling about in my head for a wee while and I just want to take some time to kind of sit and put it onto paper and see if it makes any sense. It's not something that I'd normally draw as well, so there is going to be an element of exploration and challenge in this for me, and I just thought it might be nice to share that thought process with you while you kick back and sketch whatever it is you're doing in your own sketchbook, or maybe you've just got me on in the background because I know some of you do that on a Sunday and that's okay. But yeah, it's just a really sort of unstructured casual video today, so I hope that you enjoy it. We'll just go to top down view and we can get going. So I was going to say we're back in ye olde sketchbook, but we're actually in ye newy sketchbook. So yeah, good Jem. And the idea that I have, it focuses on this little dude, and he is the original Dapper Gnome. I kind of wanted to like follow his story on a little bit. So in this picture, obviously he's looking up at this little dinky strawberry that's grown, and he's quite pleased about that. So I want to have him with the strawberry like full size, and I'm like squeezing the strawberry tight because he loves it so much. I'm going to take a fresh page here. This one will do nicely. The first hurdle for me is going to be the fact that I don't draw human anatomy. I'm horrible at it, and it's something that takes a lot of practice. Hats off to those of you who do draw human anatomy. So I've got that to contend with, but I really want to convey that sort of joy and happiness, you know, that he's just absolutely over the moon that this little strawberry's turned into a great big juicy yum yum strawberry. And it's going to be like almost the size of him, so that's going to make him super happy. The first thing that I've done, and I'm not going to show you them just in case there's any copyright issues, but I've printed off a couple of reference images from Google. I did talk about this in one of the recent drawing tips for beginners videos. I've printed these images off, and it's to help me get the angles of the arms and the elbows and things right, because it's something that I don't do. You know, I don't have that information stored in my drawing memory bank in my head. So I've got humans hugging, I've got an animal hugging a human hugging an animal, and I've got two animals hugging as well. So I figure like using all of them. Some of them are photographs and some of them are animations. So I figured taking a really broad range of those would help me to, you know, to get a grip on what I'm actually doing. So I just want to kind of sketch out like a rough thumbnail first, so that's you know, just to get the sort of general idea of things. So I'm just going to use a mechanical pencil. This is just a bog standard HB mechanical pencil that I've had forever, and it never seems to run out of lead. So I'm thinking like I need to think about the size of the strawberry as well, so I'll maybe zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So just to get an idea of how much it would fill the page and the positioning and things, because again, positioning is something that I'm horrible at. Now what I do have to remember is that my Dapper Gnomes have got quite tall hats, so that you know, that might be a thing that I need to think about. So if we've got a face here and a hat, and then the strawberry is going to have to be like oh, there's a big strawberry, like a big strawberry. And then we're going to have the rest of our Dapper Gnome, and then there's going to be arms somewhere. So that's kind of like the absolute like bare minimum of it. But I do want the strawberry's going to be like kind of squeezed in at the middle because he's squeezing it tight, you know. So we're going to get like our strawberry's going to have a muffin top basically. It's going to be squished in here, and then it will maybe come back out a little bit here. And you know, the angle might change of it if it was a perfectly shaped strawberry. So I'm trying to think about that as well, because he's going to be pressed up against it. Again, I think that, you know, maybe his face might be sort of pushed in the way. Like, because the strawberry is going to be like, oh, squished against his face. So his face might be slightly disfigured. And I'm thinking he's maybe going to have like an upturned face. So maybe his hat's actually going to be like down here somewhere, or somewhere, you know, somewhere in that range of motion, because he's tipping his head up and back the way. So therefore his hat's going to move from this position down to here, and his nose is maybe going to be there, and we might only be able to see a little bit of his eyes. But the other thing as well is my gnomes have quite pointy chins, so I need to take that into consideration too. And then I have to figure out where his shoulder's going to be in all of this as well. See, this is why I don't draw people. It's a silly idea. There we go, work of art, that's it, this video's done, that's us, we can go home now. No, I'm kidding. So let's think about this a little bit less messy, if such a thing exists. If his head's going to be tilted back, then the shape of his face is going to be foreshortened a little bit. So if I think about it, normally his face would maybe be about that length, so that might work. And then we'll have strawberry here. I'm really not quite sure how far you can squish a strawberry in without bursting it. That was my other thought as well. And he's got his little collar of his jacket, which again might be quite high up actually, because his shoulder's going to be, you know, he's going to be gripping tight, so he's naturally going to pull his shoulders up. Or are his shoulders just going to come straight across? And then his other hand might be here. Interesting hands. And then, yeah, if we put his nose here, I just had to disappear for a phone call there, but I'm back. I've just been debating the angle of his hat, because in this image, he has quite a sort of pointy but curvy hat. So if you were looking at that square on, it's going to be like here, because again, we're foreshortening, so that's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to work on that, but I think I'm kind of happy with the general angles and positioning maybe, but I don't know whether, like, I'm quite tempted to have him like sitting down, but if he was sitting down, I think he should be cross-legged, and I think that's just too much anatomy in one drawing for my liking. It's getting too complicated. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and expand this here, try and do a big one here, and we'll take it from there. I think that's maybe an idea. So today in the cave, it is super warm outside for a change. It's been horrible here. It's been really, really sort of overcast and just damp, and we call it when it's close, you know, it's muggy, it's really humid. So it's not been nice at all, but the sun is shining and Pip is rattling in and out as usual. There's no change there. So maybe his hat's going to be there. I'm going to make this bigger. Make it bigger. Better strawberry. It looks like an ice cream cone. So other than that, there's not a huge amount of excitement here. We were supposed to have a group of autumn calving cows, and 3 of them have had their calves, so that's no more autumn calving than flying in the air. So yeah, that's been a surprise. That wasn't meant to happen. But yeah, I suppose it's better to get it out the way now, rather than having to deal with it a bit further down the line, because we are quite quiet, generally speaking, just now, in terms of farm work, as it were. So at least we've got time to look after them and keep an eye on them. So we're going to have like a wee bit of... I'm just trying to get this strawberry shape right. I still want it to look like a strawberry, even though it's squashed in. It kind of looks like a tomato right now. Okay, well that was fun. It's actually the next day, not that you'll notice, or you only know because I've told you. A friend that I hadn't spoken to for ages called me, and then after that, the aforementioned cows, 2 of them decided to give birth in the space of about half an hour of each other. So yeah, yesterday went out the window. However, we're back, we're fine. So I'm just trying to get myself back into the zone here. And yeah, we got down here, and I've had a look at this. It's been sitting here, just, you know, the sketchbook's been sitting open, and I'm going to move it over slightly because I want to do the final sketch like in this space here, and I want it to be bigger again. So I'm just going to take this away. So I'm basically just erasing all the the steps that I managed to get through there, but never mind. So I'll try again. I'll just start with my basic shapes again. So they've got this kind of oval and then a weird kind of like sort of triangle, my ice cream cone. And then we've got the face and the hat, like something like that. Yeah, that was about right, wasn't it? Okay, right, cool. So let's try and start refining this a little bit, I think. To start here. So yeah, everything's been, we're supposed to be quiet just now. As I said before, I think I said that yesterday, we're supposed to be quiet with farm work and things, but because of this calving situation, that's all kind of gone out the window. So the part where I would normally be enjoying the sort of start of the summer just hasn't happened this year. But it was going to be taken up with other things anyway. Most of you will know by now that we moved in February to a new farm, and because of lockdown as well, we've not got as much done as we would like, particularly with the house, because the house wasn't even wind and watertight when we moved in. So we've had to kind of like just wait basically. And the more sort of decorative side of the renovations has begun now, and we're literally just trying to take it a room at a time, and you know, just baby steps basically, because it's quite overwhelming when you look at the sort of bigger picture. I think it would really, you know, it's enough to sort of tip you over the edge. So we're trying to be as objective as possible. So currently we have our main lounge it's almost finished. And our first of our downstairs toilets, that was one of like the major operations, and it really needed the full shooting match. That kind of just like, you know, that was a sort of rip it out and start from the beginning type job. So that's really where we've been focusing our efforts. But that little bathroom now is more or less finished. We're nearly there with it, so that's kind of good. It's probably just as well. Okay, that looks like I'm trying to get this illusion that he's squeezing the strawberry really tightly, so that's looking quite good. I'm quite happy with the shape it is. You know, I'm trying to think if you were to get a sort of like a half inflated balloon, and you know how you squeeze it in the middle. Obviously, if he squeezes it too hard, then the strawberry will probably burst, but yeah, so I'm kind of focusing my efforts when I'm not working, which is most of the time. I am trying to focus most of my efforts on getting the house into some sort of shape. So there's lots of DIYing going on here. Right, so now his face is going to be tilted up, so that's going to be like my centre line, that sort of weird semicircle I'm putting in there. So his eyes are going to be up here. And these little guys have got really upturned noses. If you look at this first image here, they've got really sort of pointy, like ski slope noses. So if you're seeing that from below, I suppose they're going to be like a triangle, aren't they? And it's going to be really close to the eyes because it's tilted back the way. And then we can give him a really big, massive, cheesy grin. Oh, that's hilarious. And his face is going to be kind of smooshed in though. Yeah, look at his happy little face. And then that's going to be like the tails of his coat. So I need to work on this hair a little bit now. So I've become quite adept at some DIY things that I hadn't necessarily tried before, or you know, hadn't done a lot of, and one of them is tiling. I'd never tiled before. Mr. Jem's done a lot of tiling, but I have not, and needless to say I have learned fairly quickly. I'm still not very good at it though, but so we're going to have the point of his hat as well, and I'm thinking maybe it might even come down over his hair a little bit. Again, I'm just trying to think of that because his head's slightly tipped back, it's going to be foreshortened. And granted, that is not necessarily my area of expertise at this juncture. Right, I'm going to try that. Let's just ink this and see what happens. Why not? I'm going to go, I've got 003 sepia pigma micron here. This is the smallest you can get, and I like a proper teeny tiny nib, which would be this here. So you do have to be very careful with these, because if you push too hard, the nib just disappears. They are quite very delicate, but I really like the sort of the fine nib. Now I'm not warmed up today either because I've jumped back into this, so my hand's going to be a little bit shaky. Again, it's just an old hand injury, and if I'm doing really sort of fine work, I do generally need to warm my hand up. So, but this is just a sort of rough sketch, so I'm not like overly precious of it. I'm quite happy if I've got a few, well, I wouldn't say I'm quite happy if I've got a few wobbly lines, but it's not imperative to have everything really perfect at this stage. I forgot about his collar of his jacket as well, because that's going to be all scrunched up. That's going to be like here somewhere. I'll just add that in, I'll be fine. This is making me chuckle already, and I've not done anything to it yet. Oh jeez. Yeah, so I'm thinking about strawberries as well, because you've got this sort of, you've got the actual parts that stick up, and then they kind of go down onto, I'm thinking this looks more like a tomato. I may have to up my strawberry game here. I might have to look at some reference images for that. And we'll maybe just see the part of his coat here. It looks as if he's hooked his arm right round. Okay, this looks weird, so in the final drawing I'm going to move this hand over a bit, like in this direction, so that it doesn't look as if he's hooked that left hand arm round. I'd be quite the contortionist. Okay, I'm not really happy, if I just take some of this away. I'm not really happy with his forehead and his hair, and I think I'm going to have to put some of his hair down. Like maybe not over his eyes necessarily, but yeah, maybe down over his eyes. We're going to go big or go home. So first of all, we want our ice cream cone, our wonky ice cream cone. We've got hair. And then we've got hat. No, if it's tipped back, it wouldn't be down over his face. I'm just trying to think about that angle again. And his hat wouldn't be tipped over his face. You would only see a minimal amount of hat, but you would see where it's folded over. If I put his hair back in, it would actually be like in behind there. See, this is a really good learning exercise for me, because I'm really not great with these things at all, but this is how we learn. So his nose is going to be in there somewhere, which means his ear. Again, his ear's going to be slightly foreshortened as well, but I think that's going to look weird. We're going to see more of the bottom part of his ear. And then his face is kind of smooshed in here. So other exciting stuff that's happening, don't forget this collar as well. Other exciting stuff that is happening is that the cave stash was reasonably successful, and when I'm filming this, there is still a few items available. There isn't much left, but there are still some things in the stash if anybody wants to go and have a look. And the reason that I was so excited about this stash was that this decision to take some of the money and purchase a new microphone with it, and it's the first time I've really done that with anything that's you know, that's been sort of generated by that cave stash. But it is desperate times, and I've said it a couple of times before, but this microphone is absolutely goosed. It's just and it's causing me problems. I'm having to spend a lot of time rectifying things when I've finished filming, you know, like post filming. So this isn't big enough. So it's really, you know, it's going to be beneficial for the channel, because the less time I have to spend editing and refining and messing about with sound levels, the more time I can spend actually filming. And that means better quality content. That's where you want to be spending the bulk of your time, is, you know, is filming. You don't want to be spending all that time messing about trying to fix things. So I have ordered a new microphone. It is not here yet. It will be coming sometime in the next week or so. So I'm super excited about that. I really am. It's the first proper cave upgrade that we've had. And I think that's a sign to me that things they're kind of going okay with the channel. You know, I can say that cautiously with a little bit of optimism now. Right, I'm going to look up some strawberry reference photos because I'm not happy about this leaf situation. The problem is I need to find my phone for that. Well, what do you know? I've actually got my own reference photo of a strawberry saved in my phone. So that's really handy. Actually, I will stick this reference photo over on the cave website under the resources page if anybody wants to use it. It's a photograph I took myself, and you are all more than welcome to take advantage of it as well. So I'll pop that over there for you. The link to the website is down in the description as well if you want to go and just click on it. So anyway, that's good. This is one of these situations where I'm that organised I meet myself coming back. I'd completely forgotten I'd taken that picture. So I think I think I'll just use this as quite a close reference. I'll not copy it exactly, but I shall certainly be using this to my advantage right now. I can just sort of sketch out some of this. It's funny how I get really pernickety about the things that I know how to draw, like leaves. I mean, I know how to draw leaves, and yet the things that I'm not very good at, I seem to just sort of not dismiss them, but I'm like, yeah, that'll do. And I think that's probably a downfall of getting better at drawing. It's like you shouldn't really ignore the things you're not very good at. Okay, we'll go with something like that. That's okay. Now I need to do something about his hair, because that's just a wee bit wild for my liking. We'll try and make it a bit more organic looking. I don't know, just a bit less wild. He's got a wee bit that kind of pokes out the back as well. He's almost got a wee bit of a mullet going on, has this little dude, who as well at this point I would like to say doesn't have a name. If you want to suggest a name for him, please feel free. Yeah, I do like to name my drawings, my characters, my animals. Most of you, again, if you've been watching for more than a little while, you'll know that. Right, so now that I'm fairly happy with these rough lines, I am going to just clean this up a little bit. And all I've done is just take my kneaded eraser and nip it into a point like this, and it's just so that I can take away some of my rougher lines. Now, once again, as I would normally do, I have lent a lot heavily. I have lent a lot more heavily on my pencil than I would normally do, and it's just so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Normally, I would be a lot lighter handed than this when I'm doing an initial sketch, but this kneaded eraser is pretty good for dealing with heavy pencil lines. And I don't know what kind of shirt he's going to have on. I might just bring his jacket like really close in so that I don't have to worry about his shirt. I'm going to have to do something with the shape of his chin here. He's got a sort of zigzaggy chin, which I can't really have. That's going to look a bit odd. And that's the collar of his jacket. So I still want that up round there though. This is going to be pressed right up against him. And that collar's going to disappear in behind his neck because it has to go round the back. I don't know what I was thinking there either. This is actually a really messy sketch for me. Normally I'm not this untidy when I'm sketching out. Take out some of these extra lines. Okay, that's better. So now I just want to think about, with the hands, I haven't really developed or haven't decided yet what their hands look like or how many fingers they've got. He does have 3 fingers and a thumb in the original drawing, so I think that's what I'm going to go for here, which is fine. That's okay. And I just want to add in a little bit of detail, and obviously this is going to have seeds as well, and I don't know how detailed I'm going to go in the seeds, if I'm honest, but that'll help to show that, you know, if I put the seeds in a certain shape, that will help to show the, you know, that sort of curvature of how, you know, how much he's squeezed in this strawberry when he's got a hold of it. So I should really use that to my advantage. And again, that might take a bit of playing about with. It's not going to be perfect, or, you know, from the get-go. I can play about with that a bit more as time goes on, though. This is making me chuckle, this drawing. Okay, we want to add in some more details as well. He does have sort of shiny brass buttons on his cuff, but I don't think you'll be able to see them. Maybe that one. That might be something. And I really want to like exaggerate this curve here because he's like, oh, he's so squeezed in. I don't know whether giving him some teeth will make him look creepy. I kind of want their facial features to be quite simplistic, but I do want that little bit of detail. I'll maybe get a few creases in his hat as well. Mr. Jem just came in there very briefly, and he literally grabbed his keys and was about to run back out the door. So I shouted to him, I said, is everything okay? Because he was making like kind of huffy puffy noises. And apparently the fire brigade are on their way to one of our sheds because the tractor has caught fire in the shed. Now, I sound incredibly calm about this whole situation, which I am, believe it or not, I am quite calm, and it's because it is a more common occurrence than you would think. It's still not good, but there is nothing immediately flammable apart from the tractor in that shed, and the shed is made of metal, so I am hoping that it is under control. As far as I know, there's nobody in the immediate vicinity, although we are questioning where the worker is that is supposed to be supervising what is going on in that shed. So his face looks really off-centre. I've made him look kind of creepy. I think this should have come up like over there. Okay, that might cause me an issue. This is why sketching is important. So let's get some hair on the go here. I can hear a massive piece of machinery as well rattling about in the yard right now. It is very apparent that I am not going to get peace to do anything. Okay, we're good. It's the mailman, and he has brought me parcels, which I am always a little bit excited about. And I think it's stuff for the cave. So I will also be, after I've finished doing this, I will also be doing a bit more filming, because when I'm doing the stuff for the haul videos, I film it as the stuff comes through the door, just so I don't forget about anything. So yeah, that'll be, I'll be doing a bit of filming today. We're a bit busy today. Okay, so bar the collar incident here and the weirdness of his head, I am going to have to move his hat. I'm going to do that last though, because I'm quite happy with everything else so far. Let's just get this strawberry. I'm pleased with my squishiness of the strawberry. It's very descriptive, very descriptive. So let's pop this stock in. You know, with the haul videos, and I don't do them a lot, I just kind of like save them up until I've got between sort of half an hour and 45 minutes worth of things unboxed. And especially just now, because we still have our lockdown rules in place here in Scotland, I'm getting my PO box mail delivered. Normally I have to go and pick it up, so it's kind of like all coming in one, so that's quite handy for filming, you know, sort of haul videos, because everything's all in one place then. But normally I just do it in little, you know, little sort of snippets. Plus as well, I've got a terrible memory, so that makes things easier for me. I don't want to give him nostrils because I think it'll make him look piggy. I do not want that. That's about as happy as I can make him without making him look creepy. Okay, for this repositioning, I am just going to erase what I've done, because that's something that I've found, and I would really be interested to find out if anybody else has the same struggle. But if I've still got the initial sketch lines down when I'm trying to sort of reposition something, I end up redrawing it back in the same place when I'm trying to move it, whereas if I take it away as if it's never been there, I find it much easier to, you know, to move something. I would love to know if anybody else does that, whether it's just me that's weird. And then we can have like maybe a few wee creases. Does that look better? It still looks really odd. I don't know whether I want to put the seeds in ink or whether what did I do over here? Oh no, I just did them in pencil. I think I'll do the same thing. I don't think I want them in ink. I do want to leave my pencil lines there though, again, just as guidance. So what I'll do with those, I'll just take everything else away here. What I'll do with those is I'll just lighten them up as much as possible, so I can barely see them. Yeah, right, that's good, that's good. Right, let's get some coloured pencils out. Ooh, this is exciting. I say these are very like rudimentary sketches, but that was kind of the idea today. You know, and again, I think it's something that a lot of artists and YouTubers especially, they don't necessarily share these kinds of steps. All their videos are very much geared towards like, you know, showing a finished product or a finished article. And I think sometimes it's quite important that you do show this kind of thing, because these are the steps that you go through to get to that lovely, you know, professional finished artwork. And, you know, being able to do it in a relaxed environment like this, it's really nice for me as well. And 9 times out of 10, people have said to me in the past that by doing this sort of thing, they've actually learned more than just watching me draw, you know, like a finished painting or that sort of thing. So I've gone with Prismacolors, number one because they're the closest pencils I have to hand, but secondly the pencil work that I've done in here so far, which is only a couple of pages, this is a new sketchbook, I have been using Polychromos pencils, so I wanted to test out another brand of pencils in a bit more detail just to see how they fare, because I did do my swatch test at the back. I did one of those videos where I just sort of flung every medium I could think of at it. So if you want to see that video, I will link that in the description for you actually, and you can go and watch it. I did like a review of this sketchbook. So we'll have a shot with the Prismacolors and see how we get on this paper, because it's something, obviously, as someone who likes to work in pencil, I am very particular about it. You know, about the paper, and it's something that I pay quite close attention to. So let's try and stick with the same colours here. So I need to start off with his skin. He is quite a pale little fellow, this. So we're going to start by trying to find him a suitable skin tone. Usually when I'm doing a really pale skin tone like this, which is not something I do very often, I tend to favour more sort of Mediterranean and darker skin tones. I don't know whether that is the influence of my own personal origins but I very rarely go for that sort of English rose type skin tone. This was my light peach pencil. I should really have this in a pencil extender. Come on, Jem. I have moved the cave round as well. And because I have moved everything, I keep forgetting that I've got things at my fingertips that I didn't have before. So this is a prime example. These are just the Derwent pencil extenders. They come in packs of 2. There's a wider barrel one, which is a silver one. It looks a bit like this. And the black ones are a little bit narrower. The Prismas are a bit of a tight squeeze into the black ones, but I find that they hold better because these... Again, I'm just going to show you this. I might as well while we're here, seeing as it's that kind of video. These prongs, you can actually manipulate them and like splay them out a little bit, and you have to do that to get the Prismas in, but it's worth it because see, they hold in place a lot better than if you put them into one of the big silver ones. They slip about in there. So these are pretty good. They're quite expensive, I have to say, but they're robust. I've had the original set, which is this one. They usually have Derwent written on them, and that's completely worn off. But I've had the first set of pencil extenders for nearly 5 years, and they still work as well as the day that I bought them, so they're well worth the investment in my book. So I'm just going to start with a wee layer of this light peach just as my kind of like base layer. I don't know what I'm going to do with that collar, but there is certainly... Oh, here's the sun back out again. I'm really sorry about this. Can you see the reflection of the sun? It's a really strange day today here. The sun is trying to shine, but it's not being very successful with it. And as yet, I do not have a blind on the cave window, so I can't, you know, shut the blind and just put the artificial, like the spotlights on, which is slightly irritating. Yeah, that's better. So next I am going to go to, let's see what we can do here. Nectar. So this is going to be in where he's swooshed against the strawberry, and then I can blend out some of this light peach as well. Actually, the sun trying its best again. Why, thank you. See, I'm not going for a work of art here. I just want to sort of, you know, bring him to life a little bit. So I've also got this pink blush colour as well. I'm just trying to like warm up his skin tone a little bit. And then I can use my nectarine here. And again, just blend it out with that. This is all very relaxing. I didn't actually, things are quite chaotic. I'm very careful, like I always pick certain days to do these kind of chattier videos so that I don't really have any interruptions and I can relax and enjoy it as well. And well, it's now Monday. Normally I film these on a Sunday for the following Sunday because I like to have that Sunday vibe while I'm filming. But obviously that didn't happen yesterday. So yeah, it's actually quite nice to be able to do this, despite the fact that there's chaos going on outside and there's things burning down, which I'm sure I'll get an update on shortly. There is literally nothing I can do though. And see, these things happen. It usually happens more at harvest time, and because usually the weather in Scotland is quite damp, so we generally don't have a lot of problems with things like this. But at harvest time, obviously, you're working with dry crops, and there's oil and machinery on the go, so sometimes things do catch fire. And yeah, that it's just part of it, and usually no one's hurt, and we do have fire extinguishers in all of our machinery. So I'm quite curious to hear the full story as to why this tractor is on fire. So I don't have any details at the moment because obviously Mr. Jem is just concerned about getting there and making sure that no one's hurt, and the fire brigade have been able to put it out. It's obviously gotten out of hand if the fire brigade are involved, which worries me slightly. But I will keep you posted on that. Again, by the time you see this video, it'll all be over. So you know, don't panic. It'll be okay. Oh goodness me! But there may be questions raised. I might just give him. Maybe I should give him like little pink blushy cheeks because he's really happy about his strawberry here. So we'll go straight pink for this, as opposed to the blush pink, which is the one I was just using. Just give him a little bit of colour in his cheeks. I was going to say as anatomically close to his cheeks as we can get when we've got such an odd face shape. But again, it's those little subtle things that I think just make all the difference in pencil drawings. They don't necessarily have to be massive features that stand out. He looks happy. I just want to put a little bit more. I'm back with this Nectar pencil, and this is a great colour for this. If I was working on a sort of finished piece, I wouldn't actually favour these colours. I prefer just to start with the sort of very basic colours and build up a skin tone as I go. But for just doing quick stuff like that, having all these flesh tone pencils is great. And that's a kind of a habit that I've picked up from colouring pages, you know, from colouring in rather than the artist side of things. I do think that this particular gnome is quite young as well, so I wanted to keep him as fresh faced as possible. Maybe that's why he's so excited about his strawberry, because it's his first one. I am just building up, see the stories that I'm making up about these little Dapper gnomes, I am just building them up as I go, so I think as I go along there will be some character development. I've just realised his little pinky finger's really wonky there. It's as if it's like out there on its own. So that would give him 4 fingers then though. And I don't know where his thumb's gone. See, this is why I don't do anatomy. Maybe his thumb's like, I'm just trying to think if I'm hugging something. But if I was to squeeze something, my thumb wouldn't be over the top, but it would be there. Okay, there we go. So they do have 5 fingers. Well, this one's got 5 fingers. Okay, he can have 5 fingers. He's not special. Because this is like half the fun in doing stuff like this, because you're just like figuring it out as you go. And I really enjoy that part of it, and funnily enough, that's one of the reasons that I really enjoyed writing as well. It was watching the character development as the story went along. I always really enjoyed that. I had a character in a story that he was basically a grumpy old man, and he was really sort of stubborn and set in his ways, but he was just so so strong, but he was very sort of caring, but in a really awkward, you know, like old-fashioned way. And I really enjoyed him as a character, and I've got a perfect picture of him in my head, and that's when you know you've done a good job when you're writing a story. If everyone can get a clear image of what that character looks like when you haven't given them any pictures, you know you're doing a good job. So I really enjoy this side of it. And I like making up the little stories that go along, because that's basically the same as writing. You know, it's all the same stuff, honestly. Right, so let's get some hair colours on the go. So he is almost ginger, so we're going to go burnt ochre to start with and see where that takes us. So we'll just get, again, just my usual. I'm not doing anything different that I would normally do here. I just like to get a little base layer of colour down so that I can kind of work off it. So we'll maybe get a little bit of chocolate brown on the go as well, because we want, you know, nobody's hair is all one colour. So we'll get some chocolate brown on the go, and maybe another kind of reddish shade. We'll maybe put some henna in there as well. I'm starting to look at this now, and I'm not convinced about the positioning of this pose, you know, of this, like, see if you scrunch your shoulders up to your ears. That's what I'm doing, even though you can't see me, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not convinced I've got the pose completely correct, and this is prompting me now to, I think I'm going to go and look up some reference images, you know, at another time, and it's a pose that I'm going to practice, because I mean, clearly I've not got it quite right, and I know that I've not got it quite right, but I don't think I'm too far away. So that's something that I would like to just sort of, what's not to close it off, but just to kind of finalise it and know that I've got it, you know, like anatomically correct. So yeah, and that's the really good thing about doing stuff like this in your sketchbook, that, you know, it prompts you to learn things. That's the whole point. And your sketches don't have to be anywhere near perfect, but if you're learning something from it, then that's exactly what you want. So his little hat's red, isn't it? Yeah, it's proper red. It's like red. So let's try for some, I think we'll go permanent red and crimson lake. It's really easy for me to pick colours from the Prismacolor set, because I'm very familiar with them. These are the pencils I would say I've had them the longest, apart from my Crayolas, but out of the pencils I've had for a long time, they are the ones that I have used probably a bit more frequently, to be honest, than some of the other ones that I own. There's Crimson Lake. So it's easy for me, you know, I don't have to do a lot of referring to my swatch book. Now I want to get some real contrast on the go here between his hair and his hat, so I'm going to quite heavily emphasise these dark areas, especially in here and behind his hat. And behind his hat and behind his hair. Goodness me. Struggling with the words today, don't know why. And that's the really nice thing about Prismacolor pencils. You can get some really deep, rich colour, and you don't have to work hard for it at all. That's why I like these pencils. I do find that for layering, I get on better with the Polychromos pencils, and the Polychromos pencils are my favourite. And it's not necessarily because of the quality of the pencils, it's just the fact that because they're a harder pencil, they hold a point better and you don't use them up so quickly. So although they are slightly more expensive per pencil, the Polychromos last a lot longer. I've only replaced one pencil out of my Polychromos set, and granted I've had my Prismacolors a lot longer, but I have replaced well over, in fact I don't even know, it's got to be at least 25 pencils in the time that I've had them to the one in the Polychromos set, so that kind of tells you something. Right, now I'm going to keep these reds out because we're going to be doing the strawberry at some point, but I want to crack on with his jacket, which is like a turquoisey colour. I'm being really sort of pernickety about this. So again, just a really light layer. I'm pleased to report as well that the Prismas are behaving really well on this paper, which makes me happy because I wasn't sure how well we would get on, but we seem to be doing okay. Right, so light aqua. I think it's going to have to be aquamarine. I'm just going to make this like a sort of turned over part of his collar. I know you're going to see that line, it's kind of annoying me, I'm not going to lie. It's just kind of going in an emerald colour. We'll see, we'll blend in another couple of layers and see how we go here, it'll be fine. I'm just going to put a tickle along the bottom of the sleeve, but I'm really not too concerned about that at this juncture. Get some creases in his sleeves as well. Maybe his elbow. He's going to have a crease there because his arm is slightly bent. I'm not convinced about my peacock green choice. I think I needed to pick up a bluier colour, but that's okay. It's quite nice to experiment with these colour combinations anyway, and that may come in handy at a later stage. Not that I'll remember because I never write things like this down. I've got too many other things in my life that I have to write down without doing it like this as well. Okay, and I'm going to bring this peacock green down a bit. I'm just using a really light hand here though because I do want to blend it in with the other colours. I don't want the green to be too green, so I'll go back over it with my mid-tone just to kind of tone it down a little bit. But still get that sort of darkness, the darkness that I'm looking for. I'm going to put a kind of purpley pink colour in here, like maybe a magenta colour, so to give like the suggestion that maybe he's got a cravat on, but we're not actually going to confirm or deny that. So that's more of like a suggestion than anything else. And I'm just going to leave it really light like that because again I want the strawberry to be like this, what colour did I decide it was? Permanent red. Permanent red. And we'll have that as a starting off point once again. Yeah, okay. So I was thinking about greeny browny colours that have maybe got a hint of yellow in them, and there is like an it's like I could use green ochre. Green ochre is a pencil in the Prismacolor set that I keep forgetting exists, and I don't know why. I've just got like a mental block with it, but it's a really, really good pencil for stuff like this. So I'm thinking I maybe want to. That's actually a really good colour for that. I'm impressed with my own choices, which is unusual. Again, this is just an indication. I will go back over these at a later stage to make them a bit more obvious, but it's just so that I don't lose, because I'm starting to lose my graphite lines from underneath now. Okay, so we're going to boogie with this darker red again. I am going to try and keep it to these two shades. I'm just trying to keep things simple because I am painfully aware of the ability to overcomplicate a simple sketch in a sketchbook. I am right the way up there right now. So we're just not going to be doing that too much. I just want to get this feel for this drawing, because I think this may be something that maybe not in its current form, but it may come to fruition, get it? Oh, that was terrible. It may come to fruition in a sort of slightly different incarnation at a later stage if I decide to do any more of these Dapper gnomes. I do need to work on the characters themselves. They are still quite simplistic, but I kind of want to keep that about them as well. I don't want to lose it into, you know, this really sort of complicated character, so that requires a little bit of work, but it's something that'll develop as time goes on, and I'll just keep developing them until I get to a stage where I'm happy with them, and then it's time to leave them alone. I quite often do this when I'm putting colour into sketches like this as well. I do try and do it in sections and just work on a section at a time. I like to get that sort of initial colour down first though, especially once I know what I'm doing with my colour combinations and my pencils. I find it easier to just split them up and work in little areas at a time. And it's the opposite to what I do when I'm sketching, because when I'm sketching I jump about, and that's what I was told was the best thing to do, and it works very well because it stops you ending up with disproportionate parts of your drawing before your drawing gets too far on. And then if you need to make changes, then it's easier to do so. So I'm thinking there might be a bit of a highlight maybe around this area, you know, where he's squeezing it. So I'll try and leave that a bit lighter. And then I can really work away with this darker red pencil on the shadow areas, like under his chin here. I'm thinking that there's going to be more of a highlight here as well. And I'm just wondering how much is going to actually erase off of here. Oh, that's not bad at all. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay, let's get in with some greens finally, and then I think we can call it done. So I'm going to start with apple green. I was talking about replacing the pencils in the Prismacolor set the other day. This is like my 4th or 5th apple green pencil. I think it's my 4th. And you can tell it's quite new. It's because it's long. It's a colour I use a lot. I do use my greens most often. Green is my favourite colour, and I tend to favour nature, so that kind of makes sense that those would be the pencils that go first. I'm going to skip to olive green, which seems like an unlikely choice, but it actually goes really well over the top of the apple. I can hear my little Jack Russell tap dancing through in the sunroom. We've our sunroom is a substantially sized room, and it has been lying empty. Apart from my painting easel, there has been nothing in it, more or less, since we moved in, because we didn't have a sunroom in our old house. This house is a little bit, it's quite a bit bigger than the house that we were in, so it's literally been sitting empty for months. And just earlier on this week, we finally got some furniture for it. And the dogs keep going in and looking at the furniture as if to say, oh yeah, that's here. And they've been told that they're not allowed to lie on it, and that lasted about 5 minutes. But as Mr. Jem rightly pointed out, we do let the dogs on the sofa in the living room, so it's, you know, you can't have one rule for one room and one rule for the other because they don't really understand. So Pip has found a spot that she likes on one of the chairs, so I've just put a blanket down there. And the other dogs have kind of realised that, so that's where they tend to sit, because the three of them don't seem to go through there all at the same time, which is interesting. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. I'm quite happy with this just as a sort of preliminary sketchy idea. I feel as I said earlier, I feel as if the sort of angle of the pose isn't quite right. I don't think it's terrible, but I think this shoulder could be much higher up, and that sort of scrunched up shoulder feeling could be much more exaggerated. But that's something that I'm going to work on in my own time. I really hope that you find some of this helpful. If I just zoom out a little bit, you'll be able to see where we started and where I went to, and that's just the process that I go through, but I find it really helpful. And for the length of time I've sat here and yabbered away, I'm quite pleased with this result. It's a really good starting point for me to develop things further. Oh, hold up, I've forgotten something. Get my old faithful canary yellow out. I forgot his little button on the cuff of his jacket. Oh, there we go, that's better. Right, now we're finished. Okay guys, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today. This has been really good fun. We got there eventually, and I'm going to see what's going on with this fire situation now. But thanks for the support once again. Have a good day, and we'll see you back in the cave on Thursday for another video. See you later everyone, bye for now.